Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Hi, welcome back to the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. Today we're going to talk about downsizing with confidence using the 1 week rule. Confidence using the 1 week rule.
Yes. Should be a good one to build some momentum and really evaluate things quickly.
We're going to strike some fear first and then we'll go from there.
Yes. So I'm Heather Fisher.
I'm Jody Roscoe.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here listening this week. I think our challenges always are fun for me because it gives some action plans. And, you know, we talk a lot about mindset and then you can get busy and forget that part. But this is one more challenge that'll give us some confidence, some action, and some ways to move forward.
Yeah. So imagine that you have sold your home and you have 7 days to move out.
And you haven't started yet.
And you just look around and you go, oh my gosh, no way. How am I going to get this done in 7 days? And as you're walking through the rooms, you know, you're seeing all these different things. And, you know, does that time frame kind of make you be able to more easily evaluate what you want and what you don't? And I kind of think it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that anytime you have a time frame, you don't have time to push it off and delay. I think, you know, luckily here where we are in Ohio, we don't have this a lot, but there's probably listeners in other parts of the country or the world that experience this with weather. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a storm is coming. What do I pack up and take in my car with me? What are the things I grab? Because you have to prioritize.
Yeah. So, and you can't take it all.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a drastic mindset like that to get you realizing that you can make decisions.
So if that sends you into a panic and you're like, oh my gosh, there's absolutely no way I could make that happen. That would totally not be happening. First of all, I will say anything in life, if it needs to happen, you will make it happen. So that's number one. Like that is totally a doable thing. But secondly, then you probably do have too many things that you couldn't just kind of, you know, easily pick the best ones or easily have already filtered through and have only the best ones to move. You probably have lots of things there that you could let go of. So
that's the key. We want to encourage you to be ready so you're not ever in this actual situation.
Right. And so when you are ready to move, it isn't panic inducing. It doesn't feel totally overwhelming and impossible. We don't want people to feel like that. And so even if you're not moving, if you kind of go through this exercise and get yourself to a place, then if moving is something that you have to do quickly for whatever reason, that's not going to be a hardship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So it's not about loss, right? It's about rediscovering your freedom and yourself and who you are now and maybe stuff that you used to do and don't do anymore, or, you know, things in your life that have passed their usefulness for you, and just letting that stuff go so you really are only surrounded by the things that you need and that you want and that you love to look at.
Yeah, all of these exercises are just meant to fill your life with a little more clarity and intention and finding your purpose of what you want that to look like.
Right. So by the end of the day, by the end of this podcast, hopefully you'll know exactly what really deserves to come with you in your next chapter and how it's going to define you and your future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think if you look around your house, the easy categories that we talk about, those items, the decisions are easier because they can be answered with, do I still use this? Does it have a purpose? Does it have, you know, life left in it? And it's the more emotional ones that if you evaluate each one on individual merit, you tend to answer with, yes, I love that. Yes, I, want that. Yes, that's important to me. But when you have that parameter of you only have 1 week to choose or you only have one box to fill, it causes you to, prioritize and rank items, and you see quickly which ones have that true importance and which ones you're maybe just holding on because you've had them a long time or you own them, and all of those things we've talked about before.
So walk into your living room and just quickly, in the first minute, decide what 3 things you would pack first. Just quick, what 3 things? And that will give you some real clarity on what's important to you and what isn't important to you. And if I also think, like, if you were going to spend lots of money to move it, would you thinking things like that?
Yeah.
Let's say you were going to move overseas or move to Hawaii or somewhere where you actually had to pay a significant amount of money to move things. What would you want to take with you, and what would be like, no, I can get that when I'm there, or I can get that at the next place, or I don't need that, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a portion of things you take for their usefulness in your day-to-day needs. But beyond that, there's so much that we end up taking when we transition to different places that just bog us down. And when they're in the new spot, they don't bring us the joy that we envisioned that they would, because we didn't choose them with intention. We just delayed making a choice of, will this make my new space better? Will this have a place in my new space? Do I truly need this? Or is the memory and story of having it at one time enough?
Yeah. So what about your kitchen? When you walk in your kitchen, what drawer gives you like, ugh, I hate that drawer? Which one? So for me, today, actually, I was putting away stuff from the dishwasher, and I opened the drawer that has, it's just kind of random stuff. It has like cheese knives and just kind of like extra utensils and, things like that in it. And it was overflowing, and I was like, what? So I pulled everything out, because that's what you do, right? You pull everything out of the drawer, I put it on the counter so I could really look at it. And I ended up having 4 sets of cheese knives, like 4 full sets of cheese knives, which, I mean, cheese knives aren't actually even something that you must have in the first place. But then on top of it, I had 4 sets of them. So I was like, oh, girl.
I should have talked to you first, because we had the conversation over the weekend we have new silverware, and, we were talking about utensils, and my husband said, we don't have any of the small knives. I will order some. Should have talked to Jody first.
I could have given you a whole set.
Yes, talk to your friends. Someone has extra for sure.
Oh, that's funny. So anyway, but that drawer was bugging me, right? And so when you dig into it, you realize it's bugging you because it's overfilled with things that you don't need. Pick your favorite cheese knife set or whatever it is, and the rest of it can go. And if you don't eat cheese anymore, then that's not even what you need. But we do charcuterie boards, so.
Yes. I mean, there are some things, consumables, that having a little backstock, not too much, but you have extra rolls of toilet paper and you have toothpaste. Those are things because you eventually will go through them. But there are other things we accumulate through life that you will never have a party big enough to need 4 sets of cheese knives and things like that. But I think all of us have those categories where we've gotten them as gifts, or bought them from different occasions, or inherited them from other places. And there's never a time when you will need that multiplier effect put on some of the items that we end up with 3 or 4 of. You won't need 3 blenders at one time ever.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm just guilty of what I say, everybody, like we all do. We bring it in. So I'm sure they were gifts. And I might have bought 1 set, but I'm sure the other ones were, gifts, which were beautiful, and I loved it. But then I just throw it in the drawer where it goes, and I don't think to be like, oh, do I want to let go of that other one? Like what, so all in, no out.
Yes, it's when you come off of a holiday where you've received gifts, or you've been out for new shopping, whatever, you always should be doing that, this or that. Okay, I have this now. Do I like it enough to replace the same thing I already had? Make that decision and move on quickly from that decision, so that one is going out, whether you're fine with what you already had, or you're keeping
you're regifting.
Yeah, regifting, exchanging, whatever
donating,
needs to
whatever.
happen.
Yeah,
the guilt is not a gift, so you do not need to keep it.
Yeah,
if it's not the one to serve the purpose.
Yes. So anyway, you can journal some of this. You can create a workbook or worksheet. You can have a little binder that says, must go with me, and then hard to decide which ones you're struggling with, maybe, or probably ready to let go. It's basically the same thing as our boxes, the maybe box and then the donate, and then the keep.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when I was looking through our notes to get ready for this, and I feel like I love these 3 piles being, the yes, it comes with me, the maybe, meaning you need to reflect more, or the no, I've outgrown it, because I feel like with the other piles, sometimes we end up spending so much time sorting through, box 3, the no, I'm not keeping it, into should I sell it? Should I donate it?
Yeah.
Is it trash?
Overthinking what to
that
do
we're
with it.
spending so much on that we don't get enough moved into that pile because we're too busy dealing.
Where should it go? What should I do with it?
Yeah, the one by one, that maybe we should, not maybe, definitely we should start with this system first, and then get that whole pile of, we'll figure out what that next step is, but here's the pile to deal with. That's a great one for an outside resource, because you have them look at the pile. Can you sell any of this in an estate sale? No. Okay. Can the donation guy take it? Some of it, whatever. And then, you do that 3-step process. But I do think we can get held up at the one item by one item that we take out of a drawer, getting sidetracked on whether you could sell it or donate it.
For sure. So, I think that putting a short timeline on anything will just give you very, very quick clarity.
Yeah.
So kind of, freak yourself out a little bit there and be like, if I only had, a week, what in here do I need?
Yeah. What would I grab? What would I pack? Honestly, is there anything you'd be glad if it got lost in the process?
Oh, I'm sure there's stuff
as you look around the room, start there.
Yeah.
I don't want that, recliner to come, or things like that. Maybe those are the first things to give away.
Yeah. So there's a couple categories of stuff that when you start looking at the room, the stuff is going to fall into a couple different categories. So one of the categories is what you were saying, functional must-haves, right? We need to have a sofa to sit on, or chairs to sit on, or whatever. We need to have a table to eat at. So there's functional daily must-haves. And you can look at those and think, if I moved to a smaller space, that still might not be something that you keep, depending on the size of the rooms that you have now and the size of the rooms that you might have later. Furniture, the scale of furniture may need to change. So your big, 8-foot sofa may not fit in the new place. So even though that is a functional must-have, you might get a new one, which could be fun when you move to a new place, or it may be like, I love that sofa so much, and I'm going to find a place that has a big enough room a big enough room to fit that sofa, and that's a must-have for you. So functional must-haves, you need dishes, you need silverware, and those kind of things. How much of it do you need? Something to think about, right?
Yeah, we did an episode on that months ago on just how much to take for each room, for each category of things. How much do you really need if you are downsizing and single, or a couple moving to a smaller space? You don't need a china set for 16. You might need dishes for 6, and rotate those through. So it's really good to look. And also, if you know where you're going already, using a floor plan and space planning and making decisions based on exactly where it will go in the next place, if you know that already, can help so much from I love that chair.
Yeah.
Where is it going to go? Does it fit?
Yeah. Yeah. And if it fits where it is now, that's great. If your house already is lined all the walls with furniture, maybe it's okay to start letting go of some things now, so you can get some breathing room. And so it could be a stepped process of I never really did like that, whatever it was that you got inherited from somebody, and you've just been sitting in the corner all this time because they gave it to you and there it sits. Let it go. Right? Let some of that go. So functional must-haves is one category. Emotional keepers. This is another category that shows kind of your relationships or your history. People that you care about. these are the sentimental, kind of things. And some people are super sentimental and some people aren't sentimental at all. And so that's your level of that is something that you're going to have to judge and keep, to your level of that, right? Yeah. So if you're a very sentimental person, I'm not saying you necessarily still keep everything just because you're sentimental, but maybe your percentage of what you would, keep in or have in your house of sentimental stuff is higher than what somebody else's is, and that's okay, as long as those are the, if you're like, hey, I'm going to keep this because it was my mom's. Maybe you tell yourself, again, parameters make all the difference. Maybe you tell yourself you're going to keep 5 things that were your mom's, or 10 things. Or if you could only keep 3 things that were your mom's, what are the 3 things you would keep? And that will give you clarity on what it is you actually really love, and what you're just keeping because it was your mom's.
Yeah, I've talked about this before, but when we were getting ready to move and we had someone helping us with some of the decorating decisions, and she asked us to make a list of what we absolutely had to decorate around, that we, not our day-to-day stuff, but what items held so much importance that we wanted to visually see them and have them as part of the decor. I felt like, oh my gosh, that'll be so many things. And when I really boiled down to it and had to write them down and send her a picture of them and think about why I wanted it displayed, it was 5 things. Mm-hmm. And I still feel like our new space is my home. It still has things I love, and I still have, the same feeling when, our family's over there, and, it's still home. But I didn't, it was easier to let go when I had to prioritize and say to somebody else why I thought it was important to keep, and I wasn't just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, I love that idea of defending it almost in a way, right? So it's like, you have to give it, like, I'd have to tell you why it's important to me and, why I want to keep it. Yeah,
and I had to picture it being in a new space and like, do I love it that much kind of a thing? Mm-hmm. But, still able to honor things that I love and know are included. So
that's super cool. So emotional keeper stuff. And then the third one is identity items, which is kind of who you are, what your legacy is. Do you love to cook? Do you, love to do yard work? Do you, what is it that you love? Maybe it's quilting. We just went to a client's house who did beautiful quilting. And she had quilts all over all the walls, and they were like art. They were just incredible. And so that's, who she was, right? And so
I love her plan around it too. They were planning to downsize, and so she'd already invited her family to choose ones that they might want to have, so that everybody had what they wanted. But what I loved so much is when we were looking around the house and talking to her, she had claimed her favorite before anybody else.
Before she let the family come.
Before she let, she had her name clipped to the one that she just, made her heart happy to see every day. And she loved it so much. Like, she was honoring herself and choosing first. So I love that so much.
Yeah. So of course she's going to want to keep those, and her family will want, some of them. Your family may or may not want some of those things, but, or friends, there's, always that too. So, we've been to some clients' houses that were really, really artistic lately. Yeah. We had another one that, had a loom, and she, made, beautiful scarves and things. So, So whoever you are, whatever it is that you do, that's stuff that you want to keep, especially if you're actively, doing that as a hobby, whether that's cooking or, like gardening or whatever. Yeah. And woodworking. I don't know. We've had so many different people who had
people
different.
People are so talented. I wish I was more on the creative side. I don't think anyone wants to have my spreadsheets hung on the wall, or
I love your spreadsheets.
The things that I do for hobbies. Not framed artwork, but we have had some very talented clients.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then pick your favorites. That again, you ask yourself, if I had to leave in a couple days, which ones of these would I grab?
Yeah. It's such a good mindset to just put that priority and that parameter around it.
And so on some of those things, when you're trying to figure out, if you don't know if it's not obvious what your legacy is or what that is, when you're looking at items, ask yourself, does this represent who I am becoming or who I want to be in this next stage of my life? Or is this somebody that I used to be, right? Yeah. So I used to be super crafty with the kids. I do all kinds of crafts with the kids and Christmas ornaments and you name it, we're doing crafty things. And I don't really do that anymore. I mean, the kids are grown up and I don't seem to be crafty without them. You know, I mean, I probably could, but I don't. That's not what I'm spending my time doing.
Honestly, your enjoyment came from the connection with your kids.
Yeah. And so I had a lot of, craft things, pipe cleaners and little balls and ribbons and, glue and all kinds of stuff. And we made all kinds of cute stuff and they have good memories of it, I hope. And I have good memories of it. And so, but that is somebody who I was. So that's just kind of an example of something that I enjoyed and loved, but then I ended up with a whole bunch of stuff and I ended up donating it to teachers who could use it in their classrooms. Just think about that. Is it that it's who you were or who you're going to be?
Yeah.
So that's one question.
Yeah.
And then another question is, are you keeping it for yourself or for, someone else's memory of who you are? Like, have you put yourself in a little box and you aren't letting yourself grow out of that little box and you're like, oh, well, this is, what I used to do, so I need to keep it because that's, what everybody thinks of me, and or my kids will want it someday and they have told you they don't. And so, keeping it for them.
I think it's so important to remember that anytime we give ourselves space and room to grow, we always do.
Yeah.
And so if you're so cramped into a life that doesn't quite fit right anymore, for hobbies that you don't have, your kids doing with you, or you just can't do as well, when you can release and leave that breathing room, something wonderful always fills it.
Yeah.
And so I try to look at things from that mindset.
And sometimes something unexpected, know? And so leave the room for growth, or make the room for growth, right?
Yeah.
Because if you are all packed in with all the old stuff, you don't have room for growth.
Yeah. I think always we can leave a little space and not have to know what's going to fill it until we let that happen.
Yeah. And then again, we've talked about this too. If you have stuff that is very sentimental to you, journal that story, reasons why, so that, your kids can read it later and see, where that dish came from, or whatever that is, that's super sentimental to you. The story makes the stuff, if the stuff doesn't have any story, it's just stuff.
Yeah, and display it, use it, tell the story over and over again, as much as you can, to intertwine that into your family legacy of that story, not of the item in a box.
Right, because again, we keep saying the same things over, but if it has no memories from your kids because it was in a box somewhere and it's being saved because it's special, quote unquote, and then they will not relate to it later because they have no memories of it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So important to remember.
Yep. So, okay, from your thought experiment, oh my gosh, I'm going to freak myself out, to decision making, right? Yeah. The 1 week rule, as a permanent downsizing filter, here's some questions that, we can ask ourselves.
Yes. Tell us.
Okay. So would I pack it if space was limited? Which it probably may be limited in the next place. So, but if I could only take, 3 boxes of stuff or 5 boxes of stuff, would that go in the box?
Yeah. Parameters. Mm-hmm. Would I buy this again today?
Right. So it might be something useful, but you don't use it very often. And if you didn't have it, you would find a workaround, right?
Right.
Like maybe you have a pancake griddle that you plug in and you use it once or twice a year. But you could still make pancakes in a skillet on the stove, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the idea we're talking about.
Yeah. Would I pay to store or move it? You said that earlier in the episode. If you're going a long distance, or you just pretend you're going a long distance. I know you moved from Ohio to California and back at one point in your early years, and
I paid to move stuff, and I didn't want most, like I would say like 80% of it when I got here, I didn't want it. And I didn't spend the time to think about what my future might look like once I got here. I just was like, oh, this is my stuff, and I'm going to move it because it's my stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so still, before you do any of this stuff, you got to do the work in the beginning of what is my life going to look like? Who do I want to be? What things do I want to be spending my time doing? And what do I want my house to look like? Maybe your house, you know, hasn't changed, and you decorated your whole house 20 years ago and loved it. And now you're just used to it. And maybe you really are ready for a change.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe you're sentimental and you just want it to, you know, feel cozy and the same as it does right now. Either way, it's fine, but you have to put the time in to think about what it is, so that you can make good decisions.
Well, we've seen clients that have that mentality that they want it to be the exact same as their larger house in their new space. And we've seen the end result that they didn't make enough decisions, and they're then living around boxes and piles, and they just can't ever get to that settled feeling because they brought too much. But on the same vein, if you really are wanting it to still feel like home, and you're not the kind of person that wants a brand new everything. We just had clients that we visited this past week that came from, you know, a very large house, and they're in a much smaller space, and they did such a good job thinking ahead and planning that their comment to us when we went to go see their new space was, we feel like it feels like home. And their grandkids came to visit, and their first comment was, it still feels just like your house. And so their family that, you know, had their grandkids that had come up through their family home and spent so many holidays still felt that comfort of it being that way, but they did such a good job of still paring down that it felt like the coziest, cutest home.
Yeah, their bedroom, they basically did transfer their bedroom. They had a beautiful rug that my daughter wanted, but they were keeping it. And put that under their bed, and, you know, that furniture, the bedroom was a good size, I think, and the family room was a good size. So their scale of their furniture worked. And then they just didn't bring a whole lot of other stuff. And so it did work. It did feel great. It did feel very similar to their other room, but in a good way.
Yeah, they didn't take their giant sofa. They took some chairs instead that were from their home, and they just did it in just the way we try to encourage all of you to do it. They were so thoughtful on what they were going to use the new space for, and making decisions of all their things in the larger space of what was able to put the new space to new use, leave behind the stuff they were no longer going to be doing, and still have it feel like their home, but new and not overcrowded. And textbook example of how to do it.
It was good. Yeah. So, and then the next question is, does it fit in my next home, which is what we were literally just talking about, your next lifestyle, and your goals of what you want that next thing to be. So to know that, you have to do the thought process first, and, you know, figure out what those goals are going to look like and what that's going to look like. And I think the more we talk about deciding on stuff, no matter what the parameter is, whether it's time or number of boxes or, you know, size, whatever it is, putting parameters on it really, really helps to define it.
Yeah. And the earlier you can start doing that and just living that lighter life while you're preparing for a move, or just planning to stay where you are and just wanting to feel less burdened, that's so much easier. You know, you can, when you come up against that true timeline of 1 week, you're just like, okay, I don't have time to slow down and make these decisions. And you start the frenzy of grabbing. Just throw it in a box.
Right.
Just grab it.
You do it the other way. Instead of making the decisions, you just take everything, which we have seen people do, and that's a disaster. So
yeah.
Create mini reality checks for yourself. So in the closet, what if you only had one suitcase? One suitcase. That's it.
Yeah.
What are you going to bring? What are
That's
your favorite
my
clothes?
certain number of hangers
Right?
rule.
Yes.
Yeah. I have my hangers, and
that's it.
something's got to go. If
Yep.
they're full, that's plenty.
Yep. Which kitchen appliances do you use that are sitting on your counter? Which ones are dusty? Like which ones, have you not used? And be honest with yourself. Garage, does the garage have projects that you were going to do and you're not, and now you just feel guilty that you bought the stuff but you didn't do it, and so you're just keeping it because of that? Or, are you actually, using whatever's in the garage? So, yeah. So, we've all kept appliances that I have an ice cream maker. I still haven't let it go. I need to let it go. But that I thought I was going to use and I haven't. So it's okay. It's okay. Let it go.
Yeah. I think, gosh, I don't know how many years ago, but I grew up in a household where things were on the countertop. The toaster was on the countertop all the time, and the toaster was on the countertop, the coffee pot, things were on the counter, and you kind of get that line of the small appliances, so you lose counter space. And when I met my now husband, and he kept his toaster like in the cabinet, and I had never heard of that before. I just grew up around people that didn't, but I started doing that, and now we're married and in the same home, and we have it put away, and you get it out when you need a piece of toast. And I'm like, think back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was taking up so much space on my counter for so many years, and I literally make toast maybe. You realize once you put it away how little you think when it's sitting out, I use the toaster. Yes. The coffee pot, different story. Yeah. We use that every day. It stays out. But if you don't, put it away and don't, move that clutter, and you'll realize that you don't need it as much as you thought. But when it's in your visual line of sight, it just becomes something you have to have because you own it. Right. Yeah. Yep. Lots of good tips there. Yeah. So, okay. So, what do people who've done this? What do they learn? I mean, people, when you get through the process, feel like they're keeping things for a life they no longer live. Mm-hmm. They realize, gosh, I really put some intention around this, and I have a lot I don't need anymore. Yeah, they get clarity over what is happening. What is important to them. Yeah. Excuse me. And, it doesn't feel like they're losing out on things because they're making decisions about, and so then it's not like, I have to let that go. It's like, I didn't need that anyway. Yeah. You might find out that letting go gives you more breathing room than you expected. Mm-hmm. We hear that all the time. Yeah. And stuff is heavy. Stuff is heavy. Physically and emotionally. I was going to say, yes, that was the best comment when someone was like, yes, it is heavy. We know the dresser's heavy. But I think learning to just live with a little space, like we talked about, until it fills itself, instead of having to immediately fill every space. If you clean out a drawer, it's okay to let it live empty. Oh, that is so hard for people. Mm-hmm. You just want to fill it up. Yeah, if you cleaned out a closet or a full dresser or cleaned something out, if you're able to totally empty it, just leave it that way. And don't take, like, if you have a bedroom with 2 dressers and you go through everything, you downsize down to enough for just 1 dresser, move one of them out, move that away. You don't need it. But what most people's instinct is to take the smaller amount of stuff and just divide it up into, all the drawers and a little bit here or there. And they think, well, okay, I still need that dresser. Yeah, and then they'll end up filling it up again, little bit by little bit. Yeah. What's that stat in our class that the average American home has tripled in size in the last 50 years? And what you always say in class is, more room for more stuff. Right. And so as you've been in a bigger house, you've filled every nook and cranny, not necessarily because you needed all of that stuff, but we just have an instinct that the space isn't okay.
our daughters are getting ready to move out, and have spaces. So I was looking in my kitchen. Well, obviously I have a set of cheese knives for her. So, that's
for all the college girl parties that you need
all the
knives.
charcuterie trays she's going to make in college. But I was thinking too, like if I look in my cabinets, the top shelf stuff, I was looking at it today. I haven't gotten it all down, but like there are big, containers like for food and, things that just are up there that are fine, perfectly good, but I clearly don't use them. I can't barely reach them. And so maybe that whole top shelf should just be empty. If you're going to have empty spaces in your, I can't reach it anyways. And whatever's up there is just hanging out.
Maybe you put all that down into some maybe boxes, and 3 months from now, if you haven't needed to go search for anything, they just go straight out.
Well, it's just going to go to her house if she wants it.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yes.
But like I said, some of it's fine. It's good. It's still very useful. But I have too much.
Yeah.
Too much of it.
Yeah. I think, some takeaways and small steps that you can get started with, just pick one spot, one drawer, one shelf, one closet, and ask that if I had to move in 7 days, would any of this make the cut? Yeah. And if
write down some 3 things that surprised you, right? And if you journal it a little bit, it will help you understand who you are today and what really is valuable to you today. Because sometimes you get asked that question and you're like, I don't know, I don't know. But if you can do that super quick decision making, it will reveal itself.
Yeah, and I think that in our classes in person, so many people have so many questions on the sentimental items and, photos and antiques and family heirlooms and all of those things. And I really think an exercise that is so helpful is to just take a sheet of paper and, make 10 lines or 5 lines or 20 lines and just make that and walk around the house or sit and think and just think off the, quick time frame. What are the 20 things I would fill these lines with? What are the 20 items that come to my mind first? And then as a second step, prioritize, rank them in order.
Yeah.
If I could only take one, what is it? If I could take 2, and that list itself will bring you more clarity on what you're really worried that someone is wanting you to throw away versus a whole category. You'll realize what didn't make the cut might be okay, even though it's a harder category.
Yeah.
What's okay to start with because you've got the off limits, your priorities.
Yeah. So not about stress or really loss, really just about clarity and choosing what you're going to carry forward instead of, just trying to bring everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that can be really helpful.
We would love to hear from you about what your things were that were surprised you or what your 3 top things is that you took with you. We would love to hear what it is.
You're asking me?
No, I want
the audience. Got it.
Our listeners
got it. I was like, wait,
share it with us.
Yes.
Once you've done it, share it with us. Let us know.
Yeah, it's a good exercise and really brought us some clarity. And actually, for me, one of the 5 things we did bring, it was a little table that my husband and I both loved, and it doesn't work at all in our new space.
No.
But we're both it was like, even though we thought like, oh, we love that table, let's put that there, it's okay,
You love it less because wherever it was in the old house, it was in the perfect spot for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's why you loved it, and now there isn't the perfect spot for it. That's funny.
So
that's funny. Yeah.
Your list can get even smaller than you thought.
Yep. If you need us, reach out on downsizingroadmap.com. Like I said, share your experiences with us. We would love to hear from you.
And we would love it if you followed our podcast and left us a review. If it's helpful to you, if there's any tips that you've loved the most, just let us know. We love hearing from you.
Yep. All right. Until next time.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.